Let's talk about the Alliance of American Football. The AAF is a new professional football league that starts this weekend. I'm really, really excited. I can't wait. They're doing a lot of things right. They have big names involved. They have a good plan that I believe in. I mean, I plan to talk about the AAF a lot. If I'm the only one on the internet that's championing it, I will do that. I don't know if a lot of people are going to talk about it. They have my attention. I'm really interested. In fact, I'm going down to San Diego later in February, to go watch a San Diego Fleet game. It's the Fleet and Atlanta. It's going to be a great game. Really excited. And so I'm doing this video. I'm calling this my AAF season preview. To be honest, this league is completely made up of players that I'm unfamiliar with. There's only a couple guys, a couple names I know, because it's a developmental league. And what that means is we're seeing guys that haven't made it yet. So it's hard to make predictions and come up with. I have no idea what team is going to be the best in this league. I can't know that without watching the product first. What I am going to do is run through all 8 teams, talk about their coaches, and talk about the people involved in this league, and then give you 2 players that I think are interesting to watch and pay attention to this upcoming season in the AAF. So the first thing I love about the AAF, there's 8 total teams, and they all have really, really good, fascinating head coaches involved. So the Atlanta Legends are coached by longtime Vikings head coach Brad Childress. He's a great coach. He took the Vikings to the playoffs a couple times. And his offensive coordinator is Michael Vick, none other than the great, illustrious Michael Vick. Now, speaking of legends, Steve Spurrier is the head coach of the Orlando Apollo. Steve Spurrier was a longtime Florida head coach in the SEC. Then he moved to he was with the South Carolina Gamecocks for about 10 years. Steve Spurrier is a legend. Having him involved with the AAF is fantastic. Now, the Salt Lake Stallions are led by Dennis Erickson, a great former head coach in his own right. He actually coached at my former college, Washington State University. Then he moved on. He coached with the U in Miami. He won a national championship, I think 2 of them, with the Miami Hurricanes. That's a great head coach. A guy who'd retired, came back out of retirement to coach in the AAF. The Memphis Express's head coach is Mike Singletary, a former Bears linebacker. He also was a previous 49ers head coach. The San Antonio Commanders are led by Mike Riley, a guy who was a head coach at Oregon State University for 14 years. In those 14 years, he went 93-80. I actually watched him beat USC live at Oregon State in Corvallis, Oregon. The Rick Neuheisel, former UCLA coach, is the head coach of the Arizona Hotshots. Former Rams head coach Mike Martz is the head coach of the San Diego Fleet. If you remember back in the day with Kurt Warner, when the Rams went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots, Mike Martz was actually the head coach of the Rams at that time. And only one coach of the 8 head coaches in the AAF, only one of them is someone I'd never heard of before. His name is Tim Lewis. Tim Lewis is the head coach of the Birmingham Iron. Apparently, I looked him up. He's been an assistant since the 80s. He was an assistant at Texas A&M, SMU, Pittsburgh, the Seahawks. He's been all over the NFL, all over college football. This is Tim Lewis's first head coaching job. And if the entire league was made up of Tim Lewis's, a bunch of guys who'd never coached before, I would be really concerned. There's only one new head coach who's never been a head coach before, and all the other names in the AAF, all the other lists, Brad Childress, Dennis Erickson, Steve Spurrier, these are all names that are really, really notable, and that's why I really feel like the AAF is legit. The AAF not only has self-awareness, but it has really big names involved. Again, Mike Riley, Steve Spurrier, Dennis Erickson. Steve Spurrier is 73 years old. He came out of retirement. If this was a waste of time, Steve Spurrier would not be here. He would not be involved. That gives me a lot of hope and a lot of confidence in the AAF. Now, the AAF is a developmental league. What that means is this is a stepping stone to get to the NFL. It's kind of like the G League or minor league baseball. One YouTube commenter, a guy commented on my channel saying, the AAF is an NFL competitor. They're trying to take the NFL on. That's just stupid. It's wrong. It's stupid. It's not true. The AAF named their broadcast partners for this upcoming season. It's CBS and NFL Network. What that means is the NFL Network is going to be broadcasting AAF games on their network. That's not a competitor. That's a little brother. But that's okay. They're playing games during the NFL offseason, and it's a really good thing. It's like minor league baseball or the G League, except I'm more interested because I miss football. During the middle of the offseason, the NFL offseason, I want to watch football. And we're going to get to watch guys who haven't yet made it in the NFL and probably are looking for a shot. That is what I'm really excited to watch in the AAF. Now, it's interesting. There's a a really fascinating quarterback competition in Memphis between former Penn State quarterback Christian Hackenberg and former LSU quarterback Zach Mettenberger. It looks like right now Zach Mettenberger will be the starting quarterback in Memphis. But the two players I'm most excited to watch are Arizona Hotshots quarterback Trevor Knight and Birmingham Iron quarterback Luis Perez. I have no idea if these guys are going to be any good, but let's talk about Trevor Knight first. Trevor Knight, the Arizona Hotshots starting quarterback, he transferred. He started at Oklahoma, transferred to Texas A&M. The reason why I care about Trevor Knight, if you go back to 2014, Oklahoma played Alabama in the 2014 Sugar Bowl, and Oklahoma smashed Alabama. Yes, Nick Saban led. Alabama got annihilated in the Sugar Bowl, 45-31 by the Oklahoma Sooners. I will never, ever forget a young Trevor Knight shredding Alabama. He was 32 for 44 passing, had 4 touchdowns, 348 yards. And after that, he kind of faded into obscurity. We never really saw what happened to Trevor Knight. He just kind of disappeared. Baker Mayfield became the quarterback at Oklahoma. He transferred to Texas A&M. I never saw him again. But I'll never forget that game, and that is why I'm so excited to watch Trevor Knight in the AAF. Now, Luis Perez is the Birmingham Iron quarterback. I actually watched him in the preseason last year. He played for the Rams in the NFL preseason. He didn't make the team. He was on the practice squad very briefly. But he had a really solid preseason. I was actually impressed with him and the way he played. Now, he has a really, really cool story. Luis Perez didn't play varsity quarterback in high school. Never did. He had to walk onto a junior college, made that team, became their starting quarterback, played 2 years in junior college. Then he went to Division II Texas A&M Commerce, a small Division II school. And in 2017, Luis Perez won the Division II National Championship. He actually beat a lot of my friends at Central Washington at a school in Ellensburg. He beat them on the way to his national championship. That is why I'm so excited to watch AAF. It's Trevor Knight, a guy who's had chances in the NFL, played for the Cardinals, never made it. He gets a second chance at a professional football career. And a guy like Luis Perez, who's never really gotten a fair shot. I'm excited to watch it and see what Luis Perez can do, because he did well with the Rams. They just didn't have a roster spot for a third quarterback. And so, Luis Perez, I'm really excited to watch what he has. I have no idea if these guys are good, but that's why this league is fun. It's the unknown. I'm curious to see if these guys can play, and excited to watch how it all plays out. The AAF is something that has my attention, and I'm going to cover it a lot in the coming months. Oh, I hate doing this. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I really don't like self-promotion. It makes me feel like a used car salesman, but I got to do it. So if you don't know, this is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the world. And you can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find shorter breakout clips like the one you just watched. Please do me a favor. If you like anything I had to say, maybe you hate me and you're mad about something, share this podcast with your friends. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show.